打过就成了。
打过就成了。他说那是什么东西啊？
Right now, at this moment, a family is sitting in a Dubai hotel room watching flight prices refresh on a screen. The cheapest available seat to London is $15,000. 3 months ago, it was $800. They have $550,000 tied up in an apartment they cannot sell, in a building that is not yet finished, in a market where the buyers have already left. The visa they purchased to escape the instability of the world is the precise reason they cannot leave it. They are not poor. They are not unlucky. They are the people who did everything the financial system told them to do, and they are trapped. This is Dubai in 2026, and this family is not alone. There is a number that sits at the center of this entire story, $550,000. That is the minimum investment required to purchase a UAE Golden Visa, 10 years of legal residency, 10 years of sanctuary, 10 years of access to the one financial ecosystem on Earth that spent 2 decades convincing the world's wealthiest people that history could not reach them here. Hundreds of thousands of people paid it. $63 billion in private wealth entered the UAE in the year before the conflict began. 9,800 millionaires were arriving every year, more than any other destination on Earth. The money was not arriving cautiously, it was arriving with the total confidence of people who had looked at every available signal and concluded that Dubai was the rational choice. The signals have changed, and the people who trusted them most completely are now the people who cannot get out. Dubai is not a news story today. It is a financial reckoning, and the people living inside it are not victims of bad luck. They are the latest chapter in the oldest story money has ever told. The story of what happens when the world's most expensive promise meets the world's oldest truth. The truth is this: capital can buy proximity to safety. It has never, in the entire recorded history of finance, been able to buy safety itself. To understand what is happening in Dubai right now, it is necessary to understand what Dubai was selling and how extraordinarily well it sold it. This was not a city that stumbled into becoming a global financial center. It was engineered, deliberately and at enormous expense, to be the one place on Earth where the calculation always made sense. No income tax, no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax. A legal framework built to accommodate the financial structures of the world's wealthiest individuals and institutions. A real estate market that appreciated reliably in a jurisdiction that felt, for a long time, genuinely stable. And above all, a geographic and political positioning that allowed Dubai to present itself as neutral ground, a city that belonged to no conflict, owed allegiance to no war, and stood at the intersection of Europe, Asia, and Africa as a permanent safe passage for the world's capital. The Dubai International Financial Center, the DIFC, became the physical expression of that promise. Today it manages $1.2 trillion. That number deserves a moment of genuine consideration because it represents not just wealth but confidence. The accumulated decision of thousands of institutions, family offices, sovereign funds, and private individuals to place their financial lives inside a single jurisdiction on the basis of a single belief that Dubai would remain what it had always presented itself as being: stable, neutral, safe. $63 billion in private wealth entered the UAE in the year before the conflict began. It did not arrive cautiously. It arrived with the confidence of people who had looked at the available evidence and concluded that the risk was minimal and the reward was real. They were not wrong to look at the evidence. The evidence at the time supported the conclusion. What the evidence could not show them, what evidence never shows anyone making a financial decision in real time. What is happening now in Dubai? Consider one specific person, not an institution, not a portfolio, a person, a British property developer, call him what he is, one of 16,500 millionaires who left the United Kingdom in 2025 alone, the largest exodus of wealthy individuals any European country has recorded in modern financial history. He came to Dubai 18 months ago with $3 million, a golden visa, 2 children in an international school on the Palm, and the absolute conviction that he had made the smartest financial decision of his life. He sold his London property before the UK tax changes hit. He moved his business registration to the DIFC. He bought 2 off-plan apartments as investment properties, both of which are now worth less than he paid, neither of which has a buyer, both of which are legally encumbered by the purchase structure he used to qualify for the visa. His children are still in school. His assets are here. His exit right now costs $15,000 per seat on a flight out of an airport that is operating at reduced capacity following missile damage. He has 4 seats to buy, he has assets he cannot liquidate, and he has a visa that describes, in precise legal language, exactly how he entered, and says nothing at all about how he leaves. He is not an edge case. He is the median golden visa story of 2026. The Golden Visa program was, in its design, a masterpiece of financial product engineering. Governments have sold residency for centuries. The principle of citizenship by investment is not new and not unique to the UAE. What made Dubai's version different was the precision of its targeting. It was not selling residency to people who wanted to become Emirati. It was selling residency to people who wanted to remain exactly what they were: wealthy, internationally mobile, financially sophisticated, but with the addition of a legal anchor in a jurisdiction that offered something their home countries increasingly could not: certainty, stability, the sense that no matter what happened in London or Moscow or Mumbai or Beijing, there was a place where the rules would not change overnight, where the tax regime would not shift beneath them, where their assets would remain their assets. In 2025, 16,500 millionaires left Britain in a single year. It is the largest millionaire exodus any European country has recorded in modern financial history. The immediate cause was a series of tax policy changes targeting non-domiciled residents, people who had structured their financial lives around the assumption that Britain would continue to offer them favorable treatment, and who discovered, in the space of a single budget, that the assumption was wrong. Many of them came to Dubai. They joined a pipeline that was already delivering 9,800 high-net-worth individuals to the UAE every year, more than any other destination on Earth. They came because the numbers made sense, because the lifestyle was extraordinary, and because Dubai had, by 2025, successfully positioned itself as the logical destination for anyone whose relationship with their home country's financial system had become complicated. They were not wrong about the numbers. They were not wrong about the lifestyle. What they could not have modeled, what no financial model in any family office or private bank in the world was adequately weighting, was the geopolitical variable that is now rewriting every calculation they made. The Iran-US-Israel conflict did not arrive without warning. Conflicts of this magnitude never do, in retrospect. But the financial markets that were pricing Dubai assets in early 2025 were not pricing in the specific scenario that is now unfolding. The scenario in which Dubai itself, the neutral ground, the safe passage, the wall behind which $1.2 trillion was sitting, becomes a geography of consequence. The Burj Al Arab, the building that became the global shorthand for Dubai's impossible ambition, the sail-shaped tower that appeared on more wealth management brochures and golden visa promotional materials than any other image in the city's history, is set on fire by falling drone debris. The photograph travels around the world in minutes. The Fairmont Palm, where a suite costs more per night than most people earn in a month, absorbs an explosion. Dubai International Airport, through which millions of people move every year and through which the city's entire claim to being a global transit hub is physically expressed, sustains missile damage. These are not abstractions. These are the specific physical events that are now sitting inside the risk models of every institution that has capital in Dubai, and the models are being revised in real time. Somewhere in the DIFC right now, there's a trading floor that was, 14 months ago, one of the most energized financial environments in the emerging market world. The screens are still on. The Bloomberg terminals are still running. The data is still moving. Prices, positions, risk weightings, the numerical heartbeat of $1.2 trillion in managed assets. But the chairs are empty. The Goldman Sachs work-from-home order came through on a Tuesday morning, 3 lines in an internal communication. No drama. No explanation beyond what everyone in that building already understood. Citi followed within hours. Standard Chartered followed the next day. The people who received those messages gathered their laptops, their access cards, and whatever personal items they kept at their desks, walked through a lobby that still smells of the particular expensive air conditioning that 5-star financial institutions use, stepped into cars that took them to apartments and villas across the city, and began working from rooms that were never designed to be the nerve center of a trillion-dollar financial ecosystem. They are still there. The work is still happening. But the floor is empty, and an empty trading floor in a city that built its entire identity on the energy of that floor is not a minor operational adjustment. It is a signal, and the people who know how to read signals are reading this one very clearly. The people receiving those work-from-home orders are, in many cases, the same people who chose Dubai precisely because it felt like the opposite of a work-from-home situation. They came for the office. They came for the financial center. They came for the concentrated energy of a city that was, for a decade, one of the most dynamic financial environments on Earth. And now they are sitting in apartments and villas that were priced at a premium for their proximity to that energy, in a city that is asking them to stay away from the center, watching the departure boards at an airport that is operating under conditions nobody modeled when they signed their lease. Now consider the exit. This is where the Golden Visa reveals its deepest structural irony. The irony that no promotional material, no wealth management presentation, and no residency by investment consultant ever addressed directly. The Golden Visa is an entry document. It describes in precise legal terms the conditions under which a foreign national may reside in the UAE. It does not describe, because it was never designed to describe, the conditions under which that foreign national may leave efficiently when leaving becomes urgent. Flight prices out of Dubai today are not the prices of a normal market. They are the prices of a market in which demand has spiked asymmetrically, in which a significant portion of a city of 3 million people, a city whose population is approximately 90% foreign nationals, is simultaneously recalculating whether this is the moment to leave. Business class seats to London are listing at $15,000. Routes to Singapore, the city that is already being discussed in financial circles as the next logical destination for capital fleeing the Gulf, are priced at multiples of their normal fares. Some routes are showing no availability at all. The airport, still managing the operational consequences of the damage it has sustained, is not functioning at normal capacity, and the people who are trying to leave are discovering that the financial infrastructure they built their exit strategy around, the liquidity, the mobility, the internationally transferable wealth that was supposed to make them permanently free, is considerably less mobile than they believed. Because the assets are here, the real estate that qualified them for the Golden Visa, the apartments, the villas, the off-plan developments that were appreciating reliably until the month they were not, is not liquid. It was never liquid in the way that a bank account or a brokerage portfolio is liquid. UBS ranked Dubai the 5th highest real estate bubble risk in the world before the first conflict event occurred. Fitch, in an analysis published before any missile had been fired, predicted a 15% correction in Dubai property prices driven purely by the oversupply dynamics that were already building. 210,000 new housing units entering a market that was already showing the early symptoms of a supply-demand imbalance, double the number of units delivered in the previous 3 years. The conflict has not created a real estate problem in Dubai. It has arrived on top of a real estate problem that was already developing, and it has accelerated the timeline from years to weeks. The luxury penthouses that were listed at prices that generated international headlines are sitting without buyers. The developer projects that were sold off-plan to Golden Visa investors, projects whose value was always, in part, a function of the confidence premium attached to the Dubai market, are now collateral in a financial situation that their buyers never stress-tested against the scenario currently unfolding. The $550,000 minimum investment that purchased the Golden Visa is now an asset in a market where the direction of travel is unambiguous and the exit is not straightforward. And the people who need to sell most urgently are the people with the least negotiating power. That is the oldest dynamic in distressed asset markets, and it is playing out in Dubai right now with the particular cruelty that attaches to situations where the asset being sold was purchased not for its financial return, but for the sense of security it was supposed to provide. There is a woman, a Russian national, a tech entrepreneur, someone who built a genuinely successful business and moved it to Dubai in 2022 when the options available to her narrowed significantly. She purchased a penthouse on the Palm Jumeirah for $2.4 million. She listed it for sale 6 weeks ago at $2.1 million, already absorbing a loss, already making the calculation that getting out was worth more than holding on. She's had 3 viewings, no offers. The agents are telling her that the buyers who were active in this market 3 months ago are no longer active. The buyers who replace them are making offers at prices she cannot accept without crystallizing a loss that changes her financial position in ways she is not yet ready to confront. She is not desperate in the way that word is usually used. She is not unable to eat or pay her bills. But she is experiencing the specific financial desperation of a person who built a plan around a set of assumptions and is now watching those assumptions fail in sequence, each one taking with it another degree of freedom, another option, another exit route she had not realized she was depending on until it was no longer available. The penthouse is beautiful. The view from the living room across the water toward a skyline that still looks from this distance like the future is extraordinary. It is also, right now, worth less than she paid for it, in a market that is moving in one direction, in a city that is no longer what it was when she decided to call it home. UAE real estate contributes 17% of national GDP. That number, in a rising market with confident foreign buyers, represents a successful diversification away from oil dependency. Exactly the economic transformation that Dubai has been pursuing and projecting for 30 years. In a market where the foreign buyers are trying to leave and the confidence premium is unwinding in real time, that same 17% represents a systemic concentration risk of a scale that the UAE's economic planners are now confronting without the luxury of time. When the asset class that anchors 17% of your national output is subject to a confidence shock of this magnitude, the consequences move through the broader economy with a speed and comprehensiveness that no policy response can fully absorb in the short term. This is not a Dubai problem. It is important to say that clearly because the financial truth that Dubai is revealing right now is not a truth about Dubai specifically. It is a truth about every financial safe haven that has ever existed. About Beirut in 1975, which was the most sophisticated banking center in the Arab world, the Paris of the Middle East, the city where the region's wealthiest families kept their money and their second homes and their confidence that the Lebanese financial system was permanently insulated from the conflict that surrounded it until the morning it was not. It is a truth about Kuwait City in 1990, where real estate values collapsed overnight when the assumption of stability was removed by a single geopolitical event that nobody in the Kuwait City property market had adequately priced. It is a truth about Hong Kong in 1997 and again in 2019, where the confidence premium that had been built into every asset class over decades began to unwind as the political environment shifted, and the capital that had arrived on the basis of one set of assumptions began to leave on the basis of another. The pattern is always the same. A city constructs a financial identity around a promise of stability. The promise attracts capital. The capital builds infrastructure, real estate, financial institutions, and an ecosystem that reinforces the original promise. The city becomes genuinely one of the most dynamic financial environments of its era. And then, not always, but with a regularity that the history of finance makes impossible to ignore, the geopolitical or structural event arrives that the confidence premium was never actually priced to absorb. Dubai is not the first city to discover this. It will not be the last. What makes Dubai's version of this story particular, what makes it worth watching and understanding with the full attention of anyone who cares about how capital moves and where safety actually lives, is the precision with which Dubai constructed its promise, and the speed with which that precision is now working against it. Because the people who are trapped in Dubai right now are not trapped by accident. They are trapped by the logical conclusion of the decisions they made. They chose Dubai because the argument was compelling. They invested because the numbers supported investment. They built financial lives here because every signal the market was sending told them that this was the rational thing to do. And now they are sitting with $550,000 of liquid real estate in a falling market, watching flight prices on phones that are also showing them the value of their portfolio declining, in a city whose financial center is operating on skeleton staff, trying to calculate an exit from a situation that the $550,000 was specifically supposed to prevent them from ever being in. That is the final, devastating irony of the Golden Visa. It was sold as an exit strategy, a way out of the instability of home countries, a way out of punitive tax regimes, a way out of political uncertainty. It turned out to be an entry strategy with no guaranteed exit. It brought people in. It anchored them financially. It tied their assets to a single jurisdiction. And when that jurisdiction became the source of the instability they were trying to escape, the visa that was supposed to be their freedom became the document that defined their exposure. There is a principle in finance called concentration risk. It is the risk that attaches to any portfolio, any strategy, any financial life that is too heavily weighted toward a single asset, a single market, or a single assumption. The diversified investor, the principle holds, is the resilient investor. Because when one assumption fails, the others continue to hold. The Golden Visa, by its nature, was a concentration instrument. It concentrated assets in a single real estate market. It concentrated residency in a single jurisdiction. It concentrated the entire logic of financial safety in a single city's ability to remain what it had always presented itself as being. Dubai is no longer what it presented itself as being. The $1.2 trillion in the DIFC does not disappear overnight. Capital of that scale moves slowly, carefully, through legal and financial structures that were designed to provide stability and that now, paradoxically, are slowing the exit of the very people who most need to move quickly. The money will leave. It is already beginning to leave. in the quiet portfolio rebalancing decisions of family offices, in the revised risk weightings of institutional investors, in the private conversations happening right now between wealth managers and their clients about what the appropriate exposure to Gulf assets looks like in a world where the Gulf is no longer what it was last year. Singapore is receiving calls. Geneva is receiving calls. The financial infrastructure of the cities that position themselves as the next logical destination for capital leaving Dubai is handling more inbound inquiries today than it was handling a month ago. Capital is nothing if not adaptive, but the people are not as adaptive as the capital. The family that moved to Dubai 3 years ago, enrolled their children in schools, built a business, purchased real estate, and constructed a life around the assumption that this was a permanent decision, that family is not a line item in a portfolio rebalancing exercise. They are people in a city that is changing beneath them, trying to make decisions under conditions of uncertainty with assets that are less liquid than they need them to be, and an exit that is more expensive than they ever modeled. $550,000 bought them Dubai, and Dubai, right now, today, in this specific and irreversible moment, is the one place they cannot escape. That is not a headline. That is not an exaggeration. That is the financial and human consequence of a promise that was always, at some level, contingent on a set of assumptions remaining true. The assumptions are no longer true. The promise is no longer being kept. And the price of discovering that, in illiquid assets, in expensive flights, in the particular financial paralysis of people who built everything in one place and now need to move, is being paid right now, in real time, by the people who believed most completely in the story Dubai told about itself. History has never once agreed to stay outside the wall. It has only ever agreed to wait. And while it waited, people paid $550,000 to stand behind it. They built lives here. They enrolled their children in schools here. They moved their businesses, their assets, and their confidence in the future into a single city that promised them, in the most expensive and legally binding terms available, that the wall would hold. The family in the hotel room is still watching the flight prices refresh. The screen is showing them a number that keeps moving. Outside the window, the skyline that sold them this life is still standing, still glass, still steel, still reaching upward with the particular ambition of a city that was built to look like it would last forever. It is still beautiful. That is the thing nobody tells you about the moment a financial safe haven fails. It does not stop being beautiful. The towers do not fall. The marble lobbies do not crack. The view from the penthouse does not change. What changes is the one thing that all of it was always built on. The belief that this, of all places, was the place that the world could not reach. The world has reached it, and the people who paid the most to be here are now paying the most to leave.